Hello, gorgeous, beautiful, wonderful people. How are you? Today I'm talking about a word that I can't use on YouTube because it's censored. And so I'm going to do it this way. K, and then an I, and then an L, and then another L. Okay? I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So I had this really unexpected conversation with the emissaries the other day. And I don't know quite how it came about, but I was saying to them, I asked them this question, but is that good or is that bad? I can't even remember what it was I was asking them about. And they said, they used this analogy, and they said, that's like asking, is a gun good or bad? And they said, it's only as bad as the intention of the person who uses it, or it can be good. And then they said this: if it was being used to harm somebody on purpose with malice aforethought, or even malice in the moment, then that would be a bad thing. They said, however, if it was being used, if it was being used to unlive somebody who was going to either do the same to you or to do something to your family, if you used it to stop them, then that wouldn't be a bad thing. Okay? And I went, whoa, hang on. And they also went on to say, if this was being used to feed your family, to feed yourself, then that would be a good thing. If this was being used in sport to unlive animals, I'm using that word, I'm aware, because of there's something about the Bill killed word they don't like for whatever reason. So if you were using that, they said, just to, for fun, bringing something to an end for fun, not because you needed to eat it. They said then that wouldn't be a good thing, that would be a bad thing. And I kind of went, hang on a minute, wait a minute. So are you saying that using this thing to stop somebody and therefore unliving them, that's okay? Is that what you're saying? And they said, nobody has the right to take somebody's life. Okay? And therefore, if somebody was doing that, trying to do that with you, then you would be in your rights not to let them. Right? And they quoted the scripture saying, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Okay. Now, I'm not, I think that comes from the Old Testament. I'm not a big fan of the Old Testament. So that's kind of what they said. That when it's, and I suppose on one level, when I think about it, if anybody was threatening or about to cause harm to my family, I wouldn't think twice. If I had one of them, I wouldn't think twice. It would be the most natural reaction that I would have, and I wouldn't feel bad about it afterwards. That's for sure. Okay, so kind of that's what they were saying. But then I got to thinking, and I was thinking, hang on a minute though, just wait a minute. They've often said that we're here and we're working a plan that was written beforehand. Okay, and so I said to them, right, but if everything is planned, then surely if somebody was going to do that to us, that would be in the plan. And they said, yes, but not always. Okay? I was thinking, well, how's that? What they said is that, they said, if you had the opportunity to stop somebody, then them bringing you to an end isn't in the plan. It isn't in the plan. because if it were in the plan, you wouldn't be able to stop it. It would happen. But they said, you may have written into your plan that you have to stop somebody. You have to, whatever lesson you're going to learn from that. So they said that when something like that happens, it could be in the plan. But then they said, not always. And I said, so when would something like that happen, not being in the plan? And they said, when somebody has been taken over by a being or an entity or whatever. And what they explained is that, because they said there are beings that are able to do that. I know we've talked about this before. And they said what happens is when they take over a body, basically that's what they said, when a body has been taken over, when they take over the body, the soul connection is kind of displaced out. You know, the out of body experience that they're saying is just like the soul leaves the body and the body becomes an automaton. It becomes controlled by them. And they said, and that happens not a lot, but it does happen, that people do awful things, but it's not actually them. They are being controlled. And they said it's for that reason that many times people who've done that don't have a memory of having done it because they're not even there. They're not present. And I think there's somebody called Sirhan. And I think when who was it, one of the Kennedys, he was assassinated. And afterwards he said that he couldn't remember. He didn't have any memory of it. I was listening to somebody talking about MK Ultra, and they were saying exactly the same, that these people who do these atrocities often don't have a recollection of it. So it's kind of like this, what is MK Ultra? MK Ultra is the shattering of the psyche, so that the real personality of the person leaves and another personality comes in, sometimes multiple personalities. The idea that the emissaries were saying to me was those other personalities are kind of entity, kind of personalities that come in. They can do whatever they want to do. And that's when what they do isn't in your plan. So they can make your body do things that isn't in your plan. So they're buggers, aren't they? That they can take over you and take over your plan and do something that you don't want to do. However, karmically, then they get the karma. I mean, I imagine, it's like in the Garden of Eden, yeah? The serpent was entered by Lucifer, Satan. He entered into the serpent. The serpent spoke to Adam and Eve, and then afterwards, God blamed the serpent and said, you will crawl on your belly for the rest of your days. A little bit unfair, because the snake probably didn't ask to be entered into. It probably wasn't there thinking, oh, if only Satan would slip into me and talk through me. So, the Garden of Eden story has so many holes in. It's like Swiss cheese. It's ridiculous. But that's one of the things where you think, well, hang on a minute, if I haven't got control of this, then karmically I can't be blamed. And I agree. And so do the emissaries. I think that it's not your doing. However, we've got to do our best to make sure that that doesn't happen. How? Well, we keep ourselves filled with love and light and gratitude. If you're filled with love, light and gratitude, it's very unlikely that anything is going to be popping into you to do anything. And I think people who are living in fear and hate and discontent, I think they are very easy targets. And so always always look on the bright side of life. That's what Monty Python sung about. And I think there are some wise words there. Keep happy, be happy, so nothing slips into you, nothing enters into you that you don't want to enter into you. Anyway, let me know what you think. What do you think about that? And do you know anybody that's been taken over by an entity at any time? And what happened? I love you all. I'll speak to you all later. Bye-bye.